The next item on our agenda tonight is the proposed gender identity and non-discrimination policy. That will be presented by Tim Gressback of Moscow Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Tim Gressback. I'm a Moscow resident, a Moscow attorney, and I serve on the Moscow Human Rights Commission. I come before you tonight full of pride. I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of our town. I'm proud to live in a city that values human rights. And I predict that tonight, the city of Moscow will become the second city to publicly declare that discrimination on the basis of gender identity and expression has no place in city government. I'm proud to serve on the City Human Rights Commission and report to you tonight on behalf of that commission. And I'm proud to live in a town that has a Latah Human Rights Task Force that strives to see that all of our citizens are treated fairly. I'm proud to live in a town where I can raise a family that has a mayor that is becoming a champion of civil rights, of human rights. But most important, I'm proud tonight to come before a city council where it seems that its council members strongly agree that discrimination against the transgendered will not be tolerated in city employment. And that declaration tonight will be heard far and wide. The Human Rights Commission's strong predilection is that this tribunal specifically add gender identity and expression to the business end of the non-discrimination employment resolution. And what I mean by the business end is it should be specifically added to the part after be it resolved. But I want to make something clear. If this council, in its wisdom, does not consider an expansion appropriate, we do not deem that a human rights failure. Some conclude that the present policy, without expansion, already prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity and expression. By means of background, pursuant to a request from the Administrative Committee, on January 20th, the Human Rights Commission held a hearing and took testimony. Councilman Karskalen was present and heard the compelling testimony. At the conclusion of that meeting, the Human Rights Commission voted unanimously to urge this council to add gender identity and expression to its non-discrimination employment policy. And just last Monday, before the Administrative Hearing Committee, ably chaired by Councilman John Weber, we learned that some of the council members feel strongly that the present policy already covers the transgendered. If it does, the Human Rights Commission respectfully submits that specificity in the addition of gender identity and expression costs us nothing, but means everything to many. Councilman Wayne Krause at that very hearing spoke eloquently about how he detests bullies. 1 in 2,000 babies born are intersexed. They're born with ambiguous genitalia. As they mature, they get bullied. They get ridiculed. They get teased. By adding gender identity and expression, specifically to our non-discrimination employee policy, it sends a message to the would-be bully. Not in our town. The addition of protection of gender identity and gender expression costs us nothing, but means everything to many. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate your comments. Does the council have any questions for Mr. Gressback before he's seated? Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Dan, any remarks from you as City Council liaison to the Human Rights Commission?
All I can say, I was there when Emily Jackson Enney, thanks Tim, was there, and she did a really good presentation. Honestly, I wanted to spend some time with her over a couple beers because she used to work for the Ada County Highway District, and I wanted to tell stories and lies about that 800-pound gorilla down there. But, I think that putting this before the council is what the Human Rights Commission wanted to do, so here it is.
Thanks. This was not advertised as a public hearing, but I think that it is important for those who may have come to speak on this issue tonight to be able to have their thoughts heard. I know earlier I saw we had a representative from Blaylock County Human Rights Task Force. The City Council has received some emailed correspondence from a coalition of advocates from around the state, including some from the religious sectors and various places. So we have an array of opinions that are expressed. We've heard from people who are affected firsthand by the kind of discrimination that we seek to prevent. As all of you, I think, know, I think that Tim really consolidated the message that is, it costs us nothing, but it means everything to so many. Emily Jackson Edney put a very personal face on the issue and spoke eloquently to the Human Rights Commission. I think that we can be very proud of Moscow's record as an inclusive community and the people who are so vigilant about demonstrating the good example here of compassion and tolerance and acceptance and really human rights and civil rights across the board. If anyone would like to speak to this issue tonight, I would invite you to come to the lectern to state your name and address for our record, please.
My name is Lois Blackburn. I live at 314 South Polk Street in Moscow. I only wanted to add that in 1996, and I think I have this date right, that this very issue was brought before the general faculty of the University of Idaho. And the administration had pointed out that they were pretty sure that their current legislation covered all this. I stood up at that meeting to say that that's fine, but maybe it wouldn't hurt just to be a little more specific. So that was passed almost unanimously by the faculty of the University of Idaho, and it is listed specifically in the documentation.
Thank you, Lois.
Amanda Hopper, 725 South Jefferson, Moscow. And I just want to put a personal aspect to this. We have a daughter that is intersexed, and we were bullied from the time, this is hard, bullied from the time she was born, having to make a decision whether she be male or female. Instead of allowing her to choose as she got older. Her biggest dream is to work for the police force, and I really think it would be a shame that her not being protected may prevent her from following her dream. I think it's important that it's included so that all can be protected. And as you said, you know, if it's just a matter of wording, why not just do it? And let's have it covered. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
I'm Rebecca Rod. I'm a citizen of Moscow for 24 years now. My partner and I have lived and owned property in Moscow. I work at the university. I work with LGBT students and issues on campus. I'm a lesbian myself. I wrote an email to the council this week in support of this idea. I'd like to read a little bit of that, if I may. I'll try not to go on too long, but Moscow has already added sexual orientation to its non-discrimination policy. And there are some who believe that having that phrase and gender will pretty much cover any issues that might come up having to do with gender identity and gender expression. Maybe so. Maybe here in Moscow, the only city in Idaho designated as an inclusive community, it could work that if some difficulty in discrimination arises, the city supervisors and mayor and such could work the system to cover the situation satisfactorily, probably depending a lot on who is the city supervisor and mayor or legal counsel at any given time. And people in those positions, as we know, change. But there is still more certainty to be had in making a clear statement in a tangible, readable format that speaks volumes to people who are looking for signs of a quality, inclusive community. All kinds of people who are talented, educated, open-minded, hardworking, church-going, caring, civic-minded, who might want to move here and work here and buy homes and become part of a supportive, integrated, cooperative community. Even people who, because they were born straight in our country and don't need to be covered by such policies, they often look for tangible, readable statements that document the intentions of a community. They look to the policies of a place or a university or school for signs of openness, support, and inclusion. And of course, it's so important to people like me, especially others like me who are hidden and invisible, but still are frequently the targets of stares and slurs and opinion columns and vandalism and, yes, violence. It is so very important to us when we see institutions and companies and businesses and cities rise to the occasion of caring enough to intentionally write our lives into the documents that are still, unfortunately, needed to give us some measure of protection in a culture still a bit uncomfortable with us just being who we are. It would be my dream that this would be added where it ought to be with the rest of the folks in the huge paragraph that we have come to have to protect over the years. If barring that, doing some sort of statement would be wonderful. I was horribly disappointed with many folks when our Idaho State Human Rights Commission decided not to add this to their non-discrimination policy, and also disappointed not long after that when the state legislature, the committee would not even print a bill about this recently. So I guess I guess I've said it all, support Moscow in adding it to our non-discrimination policy, barring that, making some readable form of this statement in our non-discrimination policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Mayor, council members, and fellow citizens of Moscow, my name's Jamie McNaughton, and that's easy to say but rather hard to spell. So it's JAIMEMACNAUGHTON, and I live at 405 Ponderosa Court, number 102. I'm standing up tonight to testify in support of the proposed gender identity and non-discrimination policy. I'm a first-year law school student at the University of Idaho, and this past few months while I've been preparing my resume for submission to potential employers, I've been advised that I should omit references about my participation in activities and pro bono hours that I have worked in service of members of the Moscow community that support LGBTQIA civil rights. Based on my resume, potential employers could discriminate against my perceived gender expression or identity. I happen to be a straight individual who just works for civil rights and human rights for all citizens, regardless of their gender expression or identity. Therefore, I urge you to adopt the resolution before you tonight to protect my rights as well. Thank you for your time and consideration and the opportunity to tell you my story tonight.
Thank you, Jamie.
My name is Mary Grant, and I'm at 704 West C Street of Moscow. I'd just like to echo all of the other people who have testified and, support everything that they said. Just add a few other comments. What this comes down to is that people who are transgendered or have certain expressions of a gender that deviate from a social norm or something that reflects a majority are forced to choose between their employment or a reflection of who they are. And by the city of Moscow extending this protection in employment, they no longer will have to make that choice. That's something I feel is fundamental, that we should be able to express who we are. We protect that freedom of expression in lots of other arenas, and we should certainly protect it in employment. That is as fundamental right as any other right, to be able to work to support a family, to be able to work to validate ourselves as human beings, that we can contribute to our community, and that we're valid and welcomed members of a community. Not only that, but they're not asking, we're not asking you to add this to provide special opportunities for them. What we're asking is for the opportunity for these people to be judged on the merits of their work, to be judged as their integrity as an employee, as to what they contribute to their employer, and their ability to be safe in that job. That's the opportunity we're asking for. And I would echo Rebecca that to have that reflected, to have that specificity provides a lot of comfort to people. And it's really hard for me to see the struggles that people go through because they're unsure. And if that specificity, whether it's included already or whether it's not, that provides that to them. And if it's no cost, it's worth it.